Cam Newton said live on air that he would rather have his MVP award than a Super Bowl win when asked about this. Scott, let's play this loud.
If you could give back that league MVP for a Super Bowl championship, would you do it?
No.
Oh. Really?
Wow.
Football is not about one guy trying to do 11 jobs. It's 11 guys doing one job. And if everybody does their job best, famous words of our coach, Belichick, just do your job.
Do it.
Okay. All right. I got some thoughts on that for sure.
That was a long-winded way of saying it wasn't my fault. All of the fact that we didn't win any Super Bowls was not my fault. I did my job. It was everybody else's fault. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, you just go, I did my job. It's a very juvenile response, in my opinion. But before I give my take, all right, Scott, let's hear your thoughts on that.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Because he is right in the sense that he mentioned Bill Belichick and do your job. As long as you do your job and do it to the best level you possibly can manage, the chances are everybody else is pursuing that same goal, right? And together, while you're doing your own separate jobs, you all will succeed in the main goal, the umbrella goal of winning, right? And moving the ball down the field and doing all that kind of stuff. So there is some credence to what he's saying here. This was just a snippet of his take too. I think later on he was talking about how, like, look, we look at Super Bowl winners, and there can be a lot of people on the roster that probably aren't like individually deserving of a Super Bowl win. So it's all a matter of like, me versus team and how you perceive that. I understand why he wants the legendary status, and everybody does in their heart of hearts. It's a matter of whether or not you can let that go, though. That's the biggest element here, is like, if you can sacrifice your own personal desires and gain for the greater team, that's probably more celebrated among the masses of people, because everybody can connect to that better, because they're not all MVPs. They're not all Cam Newtons, right? So, like, I get it why he can say that, and he is saying that. It's just from a fan's point, or the general fan point, they're going to be like, oh, this guy's crazy. This guy, like, he's absurd. Yeah. He's all about himself.
Yeah. Well, that is kind of how it comes across. And like we talked about it before on this show, like, okay, sometimes it feels really, really good when, okay, your team loses, but you yourself have a great individual performance and you pretend to be sad, but really you feel fine and you feel okay because you played well. But in this situation, we're also on that. I understand the point that, okay, there are some people kind of, the 51st, 52nd, 53rd man on the roster who got to get a Super Bowl ring because of the great performance of other people on the roster. Maybe they didn't really contribute that much on the field. However, as the quarterback, that's different. As the quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, to me, is more cemented in history and has a larger legacy than just an offshoot MVP win. So to me, it outweighs it at the quarterback position. Now, if you want to compare it, the MVP to a guy who won a Super Bowl as a second string outside linebacker, okay, that's different. But quarterback, this is where winning the Super Bowl is more important.
Yeah, that I would say that actually makes sense, and it's a good point, because the quarterbacks are the ones who are usually remembered. Nick Foles is remembered because of his Super Bowl win. He's probably not remembered for anything other than that. So it's almost like a mini
in Philly.
Yeah, exactly. He has a statue.
He got a statue?
Oh,
yeah, Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's all that matters. You do that, you get a statue. Is there a statue of Cam Newton?
The statue criteria is falling.
We do need to take another look at our statue criteria.
Statue criteria is a little warped now.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the big question is what's better, a statue or the MVP award? Because that's what we're talking about here. And to your point, also, it's like, if you win as a quarterback the Super Bowl, you're going to have a pseudo MVP award in your resume forever, because you won that Super Bowl, and that's the pinnacle. Like, MVP award is awesome, but is it the end all be all? I don't know.
No, because look at the conversation that we're having this year around the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is not even anywhere near the MVP of the league conversation, but he is in the Super Bowl conversation once again. It's Lamar, it's Josh Allen, it's even Joe Burrow who are in the MVP talks. But the guy that has so far the greatest legacy and the most lasting legacy is Mahomes, who's not the MVP this year, but has a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Well, this is okay. Posing this question, this is where I think the MVP award is somewhat disingenuous because you can make the argument every single year that Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the league and he's the MVP of his team. Absolutely. Because the only reason that they are in this position 3 years in a row or even over the past 5 years has been because of him. Like
Right.
Andy Reid's offense will hum regardless of who's at quarterback, but Mahomes takes it to a degree that's unprecedented. So that's like that's where the MVP award always kind of rubs me the wrong way, is because I think a better indicator of being that dude is leading your team to the pinnacle.
Right. I'm with you on that, and I just think this is so Cam Newton to have this take right here. And it's like, if you just saw a guy wearing that hat, you know he's going to be all about me. I mean, that is not the hat of a guy that cares about the team. That is the hat of a guy that cares about himself. What hat do you think does scream most team oriented guy? What kind of hat?
A cowboy hat. Okay,
You saying
Not
that
like
just
not the
because
Dallas Cowboys hat, but like an actual cowboy hat.
no, like a literal cowboy hat.
Yes, that actually
It's
has
very
that
humble. Okay, you're
yeah.
down to earth. You're probably up taking care of the farm in the morning, so you're a humble person.
I like that. The cowboy hat screams, I'm team oriented and I don't care about individual awards. I care about winning the Super Bowl. So, all right, there's Cam Newton just firing himself up here with kind of controversial takes, but that's actually not even the most controversial or hot thing that he said this week, because Scott, will you throw this next one up here as well? With Cam Newton also says he believes Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys have a master plan to draft Arch Manning and hire Nick Saban. I think they're tanking for Arch. Make it make sense. Coach Schottenheimer has one and done written all over him. I don't disagree there. So Jerry Jones is a businessman, and he's going to get into his Don Corleone mentality, and he's going to give him a deal he can't refuse. Who? Nick Saban. Go get Nick Saban as your head coach and Arch Manning as your number one pick. Talk about a hot take, Cam. Something about that hat, man, that just makes you go off. What do you think about this? Any credibility to this? And if not credibility, would it be a good idea?
Look, Cam Newton's he's on one right now, and he's doing some great TV takes here. This is getting everybody fired up, including us. That's why we're talking about him right now for these wild takes. The credence to this one, we're talking about the NFL being rigged, right? And how many people would have to be in on that rigging in order for this to function, and that just doesn't seem right. It's giving the NFL way too much credit. It's giving individuals way too much credit to be able to function without human error, right? This one feels like Jerry Jones being a puppeteer or a puppet master. It's interesting, very interesting, but I don't believe Jerry has that kind of foresight as it pertains to draft picks.
You don't? Mike, what are you going to say?
Here, okay, in theory, what do you think would be the better fit? Dion and Shador or
Saban and Arch Manning?
Like, what combination do you think would be better for Dallas?
Okay, so we'll talk about it in a sec here. Arch Manning is elevating himself quickly into he's going to be a superstar, okay? And I think he's got the talent to back it up. And I feel like this dude is the real deal. I would go with the Arch Manning Nick Saban combo, because they can get. I mean, has there ever been a father-son combo player coach in the NFL? Like, it worked at Colorado, it worked at Jackson State, but the NFL is different.
Kicking and screaming, Will Ferrell and his son.
Yeah, but that didn't work out. Remember?
Oh yeah,
a lot of conflict. They had to bring in the Italians.
That's right.
Good. That's a good precedent, though. Yeah, you're right there.
The one reason why I think this is bogus and this probably won't happen is because I don't think Jerry Jones is a guy that can handle losing on purpose, right? He can handle losing by making wrong decisions, right? And that's what they've been doing for 30 years.
Sure.
But I don't think he would willfully lose. And I think he has too much pride in the brand of the Dallas Cowboys to do that. And he has too much pride in himself to let that happen. So I think while this is interesting and could be a possibility, there's no chance Jerry's jumping on this train.
Yeah. The other thing is Jerry is like wildly in love with Dak Prescott. Like, he is, that is his dude. He gave him one of the highest contracts in NFL history, despite his mediocre play, especially in the postseason. And I mean, you say what you want about Jerry. He is pretty loyal to the guys that he likes. Like he really
Almost
didn't want to let go. What's that?
Almost to a fault.
Yeah, almost to a fault when it comes to football stuff. When it comes to, human or being a good human, I respect it. When it
You're
comes
still
to
wrapped up in Landman and his
that was such a good
cameo.
performance.
Have you seen the performance?
Mikey, you saw that, right?
Yeah, it was quite a performance. I need to start watching it every day when I wake up. It's beautiful.
I'm a little worried, Scott, that you are not giving enough weight to Jerry's performance in Landman, and so I would like you to revisit that, will you?
No, man, he was acting. Like I said, it's not like they gave him carte blanche. Those words were put in his mouth. Maybe he added to them a little bit, but boy, it's not coming across in a lot of his actions.
Well,
did you watch the scene?
Yes,
it kind of is coming across in a lot of his actions.
That was carte blanche.
Yeah, by the way that he is just having his entire family control the fate of the Dallas Cowboys and essentially
fair point.
Holding the Cowboys fan base hostage and miserable. But it's a family affair, and so when it comes to that point, I respect it. Plus, they wear cowboy hats in Texas. It means they care about the team.
Wait, going back to the cowboy hat. So you don't consider the hat that Cam was wearing to be a cowboy hat? What kind of hat is that?
God, that was
a pirate hat.
That was a pirate hat.
Yeah, but it's like
it was Jack Sparrow.
I mean, granted, it has the form like similar to the bucket. Yeah, there you go. That is not a cowboy hat, Scott.
No, I know, but it has the skeleton of a cowboy hat. It just hasn't been pressed properly.
It has the skeleton. It is related to a cowboy hat in the same way that human beings share 98% DNA with a banana. Okay.
That was a good analogy.
Thank you. I didn't go to Yale, but I went to college. All right, let's keep talking here about Arch Manning, because big news for him is that he signed an NIL deal with Red Bull. Scott, will you throw that up right there? And actually, it kind of like a cool little introductory video right here for those just listening. We are playing it. He is signed an NIL deal with Red Bull, big time global brand. Apparently, I don't know the exact details of his deal, but he on three puts his NIL value at like $6.67 million. Thoughts on this, Arch Manning, before he has ever been a starter? All right, granted, he started 2 games when Quinn Ewers was injured, but before ever being a starter, signed a big time NIL deal like this. What do you think?
I mean, this makes sense. He's got the name. You were just talking about the fact that he's going to have pull when he gets to the point of being draftable. They're the original. The Mannings are the original familia. So
there you go.
Like this right here makes sense that brands would want to utilize that and capitalize on that, regardless of his exceptional gameplay or not. It's going to be to a high degree just because he is a Manning and he's grown up in that environment.
But Scott, you're right there. The Mannings are, let's call them, they're football royalty in America. Yeah. It's a football royalty family, and so he does have the brand. I watched that interview. He sat down for an interview, I think, with ESPN this week, and the dude carries himself really well. Like, he is poised. He is humble. He's obviously incredibly talented. He's big time. Sure. And if you go to this next clip here, Scott, that we've got in the doc that says Arch is going to be a superstar, will you throw that up?
Yeah.
A SEC network talking about Arch, just there it is. And let's listen to this here with 20 seconds.
Just know this, brother. It's going to be Tim Tebow level hysteria this fall when we go to Austin, Texas, when he is behind center full time for the first time. It's going to be like it was with Tebow at Florida. Everywhere they go, they're going to be rock stars.
Oh, yeah.
And that is what I anticipate, and I think that that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like big brand Texas that's got that money, that's got that NIL money, that has that huge fan base, and then you throw in the power of the Manning brand, and it's not just an empty brand with nothing behind it. It's also he's incredibly talented and will get them in that national championship conversation probably. This kind of stuff is great for college football, to have these just kind of transcendent stars. And I know we were a little bit getting ahead of ourselves because he hasn't really done anything yet, but I can see him being sort of Caitlin Clark-like when it comes to stardom, don't you think?
Yeah, I think
she's a girl.
You're right. Got me.
No, I think you're right. The trajectory is definitely on that path right now. Last year, I'd say the past 2 years, we had Shador being that kind of prime example of stardom within college ball. And I completely agree with you. Having that sort of figurehead within, just a season or multiple seasons for college football is great because, you either hate them or you love them. And that just drives eyeballs to the brand and to the sport itself. So I think he's the next one. In terms of just that name and recognition. But to your point earlier, I mean, he's definitely buttoned up. He's been trained by the family to approach the media in a certain way, say things in a certain way that don't rub people the wrong way, and just perform, just focus on ball, and that's everything else is going to take care of itself.
Well, that's the thing that kind of excites me about him is because he does present himself this way, really well-mannered, buttoned up, polished, humble. I feel like 95% of people are going to be like supporting him. Obviously, people are not going to like Texas football, but him as an individual and a representation of college football, I think he's going to have a lot of support there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Scott, I mean, while we're on the college football world right here, I'm sorry to do this, okay? But it's just so beautiful. Will you pull up this link that says, Scott, you're not going to like it, but it is beautiful. Okay? We're revisiting the national championship game.
Like that.
Well, I mean, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but we have to show it. Revisiting the national championship game because I'm such a sucker for these over-the-top cinematic shots of football, combining two of my favorite things, beautiful cinematography and football. And for those just listening, it's one of those aerial shots of the football field in the national championship of Ohio State scoring. Just that which Notre Dame player is that missed that? Two of them missed those tackles, dude. Those are devastating, just in 4K slow-mo right there.
I will not throw them under the bus. You could go look at the roster yourself.
Good.
No, but I loved it.
They can do that because of what happened in the German Bowl. And he remember when you missed the tackle to lose the German Bowl, and you said that you were acting for the sake of the movie that you were making.
I'm alive.
Nick, you missed the tackle. You guys lost the game. He's like, I was acting. We came back next year and won it. Watch the movie.
It's called foresight, Mike. Okay, it's called long-term thinking. That's why I missed that tackle. All right.
He needed the element of drama there, so missing his own tackle in his own movie is exactly it. Dude, the tracking on this edit is beautiful. Yeah,
it's incredible. They need to implement this into football broadcast, dude. Like, because this is just
in the sky, dude.
Yes, but like this. This is just. Imagine this on replay. This would just be beautiful watching on TV.
Absolutely beautiful. And let's give it directly to the referees so they don't miss anything.
Oh, Scott, stop it. Oh, my gosh. Jamie is going to be mad at you. She's going to text me again and say, what's Scott's problem hating on the referees?
Oh, man. I'm just speaking for the people who have a certain thought that things may be fixed in a certain way.
Scott's a man of the people. Mikey,
Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao. There you go. Last thing I want to say about Arch Manning, Mike, we need to be like Peyton and Eli Manning to Arch Manning to our nephews. Okay, now that we're uncles, so we've got to.
I like it. I think we should be more like Serena Williams' dad.
Oh gosh. Ooh, that's pretty intense.
Serena and Venus, they're doing great.
No, you guys are probably going to be closer to Marinovich, good old Todd Marinovich in that story.
Who's that guy?
Who I'm going to text the time.
Next, you don't know the Marinovich story? Dude, you guys got to Google that. Google that.
We don't know the Marinovich. All right. I am very excited to talk about this, and I'm curious to hear where you guys land. So Greg Olsen, obviously player in the NFL for a long time, played for the Bears and the Panthers and then the Seahawks, I believe, as a tight end. He's been broadcasting. Last year, in his first year broadcasting, he was the #1 color commentator for Fox. And then once Tom Brady retired, Fox signed him and bumped Greg Olsen to the #2 slot. And Tom Brady gets all the top games, and Tom Brady gets to do the Super Bowl.
Yeah, listen, I've been very honest. My goal getting into this was to not just call regional 1 o'clock games and just be happy to be there. You know, I've called the highest games. We've called some of the biggest games in NFL history, some of the biggest audiences in NFL history, Super Bowls. To not do it anymore is hard. It's not ideal, but listen, wherever it is, whatever network it's on, whatever opportunity is there, my goal is still to just continue to show that I'm as good, if not better, than anybody in this industry.
There we have it. And I think he was making I think that for the first chair, you get like $10 million a year. And then if you're bumped to second, you're down to like 3 or 4 million. So it's also it's not a great scenario for him.
Yeah, 3 or 4 million is just
I don't know how you live off of it.
Yeah.
It's poverty. What do you guys think about this? I know some people care more than others on who is broadcasting the game, but just even if you don't consciously pay attention to it, I promise you that the broadcasting level and the competence and ability of the broadcasters makes a difference in your viewing experience. So how do you feel about Greg Olsen getting bumped for TB12?
Look, I think Greg is incredible in his play calling, and you get the sense that it's incredibly organic, and he's a natural in his delivery and how he covers games and the color commentary. And he gives a lot of insight that I think a lot of dudes who did formerly play, like a Romo, who kind of hit that nail on the head, at least in his first season, but has since faded. He's gotten better, returned to that form. But I think Greg has been incredibly consistent and incredibly good at delivering the color commentary across all of his games. So like, I feel for him in a sense, because look, like we always argue about the NFL and everything surrounding the NFL, and even business in general should be merit-based, right? It shouldn't be like engineered because of a name or any other immutable characteristics like that. So it should just be, are you good at your job, and are you the best at your job? And then you get elevated. So I feel for Greg in that sense, because he is incredible. At the same time, like it's a terrible situation for him. It's the same thing as like Phillip Rivers being in the era of Drew Brees or Peyton Manning or any of those things. And now we're looking at Josh Allen being in the era of Patrick Mahomes, and just some guys, even though you're balling out, some guys just take it to the next level. And Tom Brady's name is just, it's world renowned. Like you cannot hate it for that. And people will tune in and listen to him because he has insight that Greg doesn't even have. He may not be great at articulating it yet, but he has improved exceptionally from game one to this point. So it's just a tough situation for Greg, and I feel for him, but it's kind of just the nature of the game at this point.
Well, this is what I want. I wanted to get your opinion on this, you guys, if you feel that this is a meritocracy here, because in my opinion, Greg is far more talented at color commentary than Tom Brady. However, Tom Brady does have that bigger name, that world-renowned fame that everybody knows, which he did earn on his own merit. So in that sense, that he does get that job based on his merit for what he has done in the past, but his merit for the actual job itself, or his talent and ability, is just not at the same level as Greg Olsen. So is that a true meritocracy if he is getting the job based off that?
Yeah, but in this world of it's quite objective as to like, oh, are you really better at this than another person? It's like the beauty is in the eye of the beholder at that point, right? So like if you're just trying to gain information on the game, it's like Tom is still hitting at a level that's sufficient for sure. And you're ultimately there to watch the game, not necessarily get all the information from the color commentator. So it's like, it's just a very difficult situation right now. And ultimately Greg is going to get burned. He's going to get an opportunity. I don't necessarily feel entirely sad for him, especially when he's making $3 to $4 million a year for doing this thing. But he's going to get opportunities once those networks start grabbing some games here in the future.
Also, being better from the network's perspective is not necessarily that he is like literally a better commentary. Better for them is, do you draw more eyes?
Yeah,
that's true.
Draws more eyes. So in terms of the merit, like you said, what he's done. Oh wow, what he's done leading up to this position counts as like one of the variables of the job. It's like it's all the prep work. It's like judging fighters. All the work they did leading up to the job counts. Like all the prep work. So it carries over. And
that is
the
true.
Judgment of the meritocracy.
That's why it's a little bit to me, it's a little bit of a gray area in terms of the merit. It kind of depends on what lens you're looking at through, because that's true. All the stuff that Tom did and earned, and to make himself a household name, because marketability wise and fame wise, probably to the average viewer, oh, Tom Brady's broadcasting this game. I'll tune into that. However, Scott, you said it is kind of a subjective thing on if one broadcaster is better or not. I have 2 clips in here that I would like you to play.
Too easy there for Jaden Daniels. Go to his go-to player. Not much pressure in the pocket. Yeah, they push it a little bit, but it's really on Bond one-on-one, and Ertz, being the savvy vet that he is, bounces off Bond. Easy throw and catch to the outside part of the field.
All right, first of all, he's not one-on-one. Bond is clearly not one-on-one right there. He's clearly in zone as his eyes stay at the quarterback and he collisions the wide receiver. So not good. And just the insights that he's offering there. And remember, this is the NFC Championship game. This is one of the final three most watched NFL games of the year. And that is the insight that you're offering. Oh, pocket came down a little bit. Oh, they almost got to him. And nice, very good job, savvy by the veteran. Do you disagree?
Yeah, look, I think everybody's reading into this way too much. Like, yeah, he said one-on-one, but you know what he was saying. He wasn't talking about coverage necessarily. It was mano-a-mano, just out there in that region. And that's just a slip of the tongue. And honestly, like, what more insight would Greg have given here in talking about the coverage within? Like, would he have screamed into the mic? Like, I guess the question is
the next one, man. Play the next one. Play the Greg Olsen clip so you can see what like an average Greg Olsen insight is.
Right, but we're snagging these in points in time. So obviously it's going to be like, okay, Tom's probably had some great takes, right?
Right,
And
but no, these
he's
are
had bad takes, as has
these
Greg.
are pretty good representations of their average performance. As a guy who's obsessed with broadcasters, these are pretty accurate representations of their typical color commentary. We play the Greg Olsen one.
Under center, play action, and he just beats the unblocked defender Dotson with the release. Lazard's going to sell. It's just an underneath delay, and the second you flash those hands, defensive backs all week, the coaches tell them, have good eye discipline, have good eye discipline. The second you put your hands on a defender showing block, they put their eyes in the backfield, and that's all the separation Lazard needed.
It's simple, but it's just more in-depth insights for the viewer.
See, I don't agree. I mean, the way he started out, the first half was the exact same thing. It was describing exactly what we were seeing. Quarterback, under center, takes a snap, play action. It's like, okay, yeah, we saw that. That's very akin to what Tom was explaining too. I get it with his insight in being like, oh, okay, when you put hands on a DB and all that kind of stuff, that's interesting. But again, I go back to this being a point in time play. So you can definitely find places where Tom absolutely excels at describing exactly what is happening, where Olsen will also have times that he doesn't do as well. So it's just like this argument. That's why I say the beauty is in the eye of the beholder and listening.
I understand what you're saying there, that these are just two individual clips, but trust me, I promise that these are very accurate representations.
I don't trust you.
Here's my defense of Tom Brady. Tom Brady understands the game at such an absurdly high level, and he's watched so much film that when he's watching,
how do you dumb it down?
Exactly. When he's watching, he's thinking 30 levels ahead of the average person and the average former player. It's going to take a while for him to learn how to articulate that to the masses.
Yeah.
Because his brain processes the game at such a level that he doesn't like verbally assign words to it because he's taking it so much at once. So now he has to learn how to slow it down.
So
it's like, that's why they're giving him all these opportunities, is because they know, okay, once he gets to the point, it's going to be incredible. But because there's so much in there, we should have to keep giving him opportunities till he's able to get it out. So it's
kind of like
letting him suck for a while.
It's kind of like Elon Musk when he has really, really high level idea, and then he like kind of stutters and is really hard to listen to when he's trying to get an idea out.
Exactly.
Because Tom also stutters in the booth. Oh, you and Elon Musk, huh?
Yeah. I took a personality test online, and it said my comparison was Elon Musk and Tony Stark. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
It only cost me $9.95.
Hey, those are good comparisons. But I know what you guys are saying. However, I have been very disappointed in Tom's development this season. It feels like he just has the most vanilla, bare bones insight that any casual viewer of football can say, and I've been disappointed in it. And I am just hurt for Greg Olsen because he's so good. He is just top level. He's also so natural. It's so comfortable for him to get this information out to the viewer. And it's a damn shame for Greg.
Yeah, look, I agree to disagree here because I don't find these examples to be enough to lean me in one direction or the other. Like, Tom is Tom, and he's gotten exceptionally better. Yes, first couple games, pretty bad, pretty brutal. But to Mikey's point, he's having to dumb this whole entire thing down so that the general audience can truly understand it. If he starts going into everything he knows, it's going to bore the shite out of everyone. And because it's just way too over their head. So like, I understand the pickle he's in, and he's trying to figure that whole entire dance out. But I don't think vanilla is necessarily the worst thing in the world. Because again, we're there for the game. And that's just complete additive stuff. That's just like, okay, kind of interesting. But
this is how Scott feels when he has to talk to us. We really got to dumb this down.
Dumb it down to communicate with these idiots. All right, we'll leave it at that because we'll agree to disagree. I would like to revisit this topic again next year when we have some more data points, okay? And you see that Greg
is going to take the spot of Al Michaels once he's gone with Amazon Prime. Al
Michaels, he's been pretty lazy with his broadcasting.
See, no, I like that. I am actually a huge fan of Al and just him getting fed up with some other things. Like, I love it. Keep him there as long as he wants to be.
So am I, and he's an absolute legend, and he's one of the best of all time. However, he has shown a little bit of a lack of energy in certain high-level moments, playoff moments, and very important moments in his recent broadcasting.
I mean, you shove him into Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football is notoriously garbage ball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's usually like Titans versus Jaguars, 3-6 at halftime.
Jacksonville.
I hate Jacksonville. Speaking of which,
Jaguars.
I hate the Jaguars. Pull this up, Scott, because the Jaguars are for sure going 0-17 because Liam Cohen, I know we hammered it on the last episode right there, but he did it again, okay? He did it again. Mike, you didn't get to see this.
Oh, here we go. Duval. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, you're fired.
Right. We didn't even get to show Mikey because you missed it. The version of him doing this.
The original, yeah.
The original. If we can find that, Scott, it's actually down a couple of pages.
The team?
He did it to the team, the entire organization, because Jacksonville is in Duval County, Florida.
Yeah.
And this worries me. This is negative 1,000 aura. Here we go. Here's the other one, Mike.
Duval.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Who's this guy? He's the new head coach?
That's the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay.
His face says it all right there. He knows. He knows he messed up.
Well, yeah, if he knows he messed up, he went and did it again. And he's doubling down.
He tried to correct it. Let's listen to this one.
Duval. Here we go. Duval. Here we go.
Do you think that's better?
Duval.
I mean, it's a little bit better.
Turn it off.
He's trying. He's trying to switch it up. He knows. Look at his face again. He knows.
Here we go.
I should have done that. Damn it, I did it again.
Duval. Here we go.
Stop. Okay.
Look at
Here's my issue.
Look at the reporter's face. He's like, oh.
He goes, this is gold.
Okay. You see, the insecurity is going to trickle into the football team. Okay. That's my worry.
He better be a hell of a coordinator.
What I like about this is he's facing his demons and his downside here. So the only way to overcome it is to continue to do it and face it so you can improve upon it. So
improve upon it privately and then show your face after you've mastered it alone in a room. You can do it publicly.
Duval. Gosh, it just makes me cringe so much. So that's confirmed, guaranteed. The Jacksonville Jaguars will be going 0-17. They will have their worst season next year because their coach is weird. No, I would being a little harsh on him. We'll see. He did great with Baker in Tampa, turning that around. Maybe he can get Trevor Lawrence to care more about football and play better. So that's what we got there. All right. Last thing here on football. Scott, we pull up which position group is the best trash talkers.
I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body?
Okay.
I actually don't like that.
With the bang? Okay, all right.
I don't like quoting a movie as your trash talk. It's got to come from yourself.
A little bit contrived, huh?
Yeah. It's got to be your own originality. It can't be you're playing a character.
Well, the thing is, he comes from rugby. Okay, he's one of the guys from the NFL International Pathway Program. It's actually a pretty cool story. He's the second ever player in the NFL to make it there without ever playing high school or college football. Mike, you know who the first was? Moritz Böhringer from our team in Germany. So he did that, and then he made his way up. He was like not even expected to make the roster. And then this year, I think he worked his way up, and he's had a few good years, gotten big contracts, and is all pro now. So, but we don't like his trash talking here, Mikey. Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm fine with this. Like, I think it was the proper usage of a movie quote. Few and far between are they hitting and are they good, but I think this one was actually pretty solid coming from an offensive lineman. I don't know what else they would be able to say in that situation. So I think him thinking on his feet like that, perfect.
It's pretty. The only thing is he must have like rehearsed it.
He could have just watched the movie. He could have just watched the movie the night before.
Yeah, but then to think,
when we did the voice,
I'm gonna say that in the game tomorrow. It's like it does feel really inside. He write that down in his journal. Say this to the opposing team. But basically, this gets us
in the mirror in the locker room before the game.
Yeah, this gets us to our question: which position group in football are the best trash talkers? Typically, Mike, who you got?
I'm going to say DB and receiver.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I'm going to say.
These guys are.
Can't think of anybody else that actually talks.
Well, offensive line, apparently.
Dude, I would say, yeah. I would say
line or not. Dude. Too pudgy.
They're trying to suck air for too long. I would say outside of DB, which I think is at the top there, they're definitely, they got the vicious tongue.
Yeah.
I would say DNs, I've heard some pretty good stuff coming out of them.
Okay.
If you've heard any sound bites from Max Crosby, and just the way he plays too, like he can get into your head. I can imagine.
True.
We got to ask Luke that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I really struggle to respect a white guy that's fully tatted like that.
Yeah,
I do. That really does. That's what are you doing? Have an original personality. It's okay. You can, speak in your regular voice.
There are a lot of leaps that just occurred there, from tattoos to speaking in your original voice.
It's people who get stuck playing this character that they think they need to be because they're in the NFL.
Yeah, do you think that he's playing a character?
Yeah.
Which character would you liken him to in a movie?
In 300, the guy with the hunchback. Raise your shield.
We better hope Max Crosby never watches this episode, Mike. You just called him the hunchback from 300. All right. Yeah, DNs are pretty good. But I think I'm going to go with Mikey. It's corners. Like these corners have to have such an irrational personality almost. Like you're playing such an isolated position. You have to have a short memory. You have to think so highly of yourself. You have to be pretty cocky, and with that comes a lot of trash talking. And so I'm going to go with corners on average. You just have to be delusional also. All right. That's why I stopped playing corner, because I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk the proper shit. Wasn't good.
Hey, you're not going to catch the ball.
I'm going to stop you from getting the ball today. No, sorry.
What?
All right. So there we go. Let's finish off here with a little bit of basketball, okay? Because the NBA ratings are just not good. Things are not good. And, the just general vibe around the league, as we've touched on in this show, is fans are frustrated. Numbers are down. They're depleting. And Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, floated this idea.
I am a fan of 4 10-minute quarters. I mean, putting aside what it means for records and things like that, a 2-hour format for a game is more consistent with sort of modern television habits. But I think as a television program, being 2 hours. That's Olympic basketball is 2 hours. But it's such a dramatic change to the game. I mean, I think something like that would have to be talked more about.
Adam Silver there, fumbling, mumbling, bumbling around about how to fix the NBA, and his genius solution to fix a game that is completely broken is to simply shorten the quarters by 2 minutes. First of all, that's not the problem with the NBA. There's plenty of problems with the NBA.
His idea for fixing the game is we should have less of it. We should do less basketball.
Eliminate the product a little more.
Yeah.
It's so bad, let's just put you through less of the misery of watching an NBA game.
That's your best idea?
How did he become the commissioner? There's plenty of things that you can fix. I don't think this is one of them. Also, he said, okay, 48 minutes. If you drop down to 40 minutes, that fits into a 2-hour time slot. Like, how many commercials are there? Hour and 20 minutes worth of advertising to 40 minutes of gameplay?
Yeah, there's so many commercials within those game slots on TV. But what's crazy here is like he's been vocal about the fact that NBA ratings are down, but in terms of social media clips, those are like through the roof. It's like most people who are watching the NBA these days are gaining all of their information. They're not necessarily sitting down for an entire game. While there are still a lot of people who do that, a lot of other younger demographic people are sitting there and watching a lot of the highlights, a lot of the shorter clips, or 3 to 5 minute clips that happen to pop up as micro content on the internet and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So he's been very vocal about the fact that like, oh, there is growth opportunity in that realm. And this feels like part of his answer is still directed toward that. It's like shortening the game, shortening the or catering to the shortened attention span more so than anything.
Right. Okay. This is a little bit scary here because the term clip farming that people get, like live streamers or people who are podcasting with long form content here, and you try to clip farm, which is essentially do something elevated for a 30 to 60 second period there, or however long, depending on the format, that is going to be a clip that would go viral, as opposed to people, of course, watching your entire product or show or what have you, is that you really focus on those clips. I do not like the idea at all of a sports league leaning into this mentality. Yes, you need stuff like that to go viral on social media, but if you start catering the actual sport to the shortened attention span of the modern society and trying to turn your product primarily into clips, we're headed down the wrong path.
Yeah, it's turning into the Pro Bowl. Like we're seeing the goofiness of what the Pro Bowl has become. Because I mean that's for different reasons, but it's turning it into like social media clips and everything, and the event of it all. And that, like, you don't want to see the actual gameplay turn into that, because this feels like, okay, in a short time we'll just turn into the Globetrotters, and that's all we're going to be watching for the NBA, and it's just going to be multiple teams that emulate that sort of like clippable content. Obviously that's an extreme example, and the NBA ratings, there are a multitude of factors for that. Yes, gameplay is decreasing, or at least in the eyes of the fan, like they're not super happy with the heavy 3-point shooting and the flopping and everything that's happening there. But there's also a big element of people ripping streams and ripping, things illegally off online and pirating and all that kind of stuff. So numbers can be down there because the accessibility of doing that is much higher as well. So like a multitude of factors. It frustrates me to hear a commissioner speak in this way, to where it's like, it's actually changing the game drastically to try and fit it to strictly the attention span.
It's like the tail's wagging the dog here. It's like, man, you have what can be. It's been a very awesome product here in the NBA, and it's just, I don't like that type of talk at all, or that type of mentality at all. Like, fix what's happening on the court there, and make that more engaging as a long form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Then you'll be fine there. Speaking of clips here, we throw up this clip from the official NBA account, Scott.
Yeah.
Of Bronny, and we talked about this before, of Bronny James, who somehow finessed his way to be drafted into the NBA after being a average college player. And the NBA Twitter account itself, X account, posts this highlight of him scoring an and one layup in garbage time here. Will you play this yet? Oh, yeah, there you go. You got it. Okay. Yeah. And so there was a standing ovation. He got MVP chance. It's just like, it's such a mockery of what's going on. It was a nice moment at the start, like in the beginning of the season, when LeBron and Bronny got to go onto the court together, and it was a very cool, historic little moment. It was totally artificially generated, however. It was just all from the pull and power of LeBron. It's like, why are we still doing this? Like, this is just getting silly.
Yeah, look, and the MVP chants were coming from the Wizards fans, mockingly more so than anything. Like the NBA doing this is just like read the room, man. All the fans are seeing through the BS here, and they know why Bronny's here. And the fact that you're posting this, it's strictly, as we were talking about, the attention and trying to get, this is LeBron's son and everything. And most things that are posted about LeBron get high numbers and high engagement. So like, I get it why they're doing it from a that perspective, but at the same time, it's diluting the beauty of the game and the importance and competition level, because this is clearly just a handout here. And that's why the fans, they took it to him, calling him MVP mockingly more so than anything.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know. I think they're just a little bit out of touch there. It's like, and no fault to Bronny, man. Like he's doing his best. He seems like a really good kid. And actually LeBron seems like a great dad, and a little bit too good of a dad, pulling his son to the NBA against all reality. But it is kind of just making a mockery here, and it's just getting a little bit silly. Yeah. It's like the NBA or the NFL would never stand for this. I feel like the NFL is a grown-ups league here. Like, you're not going to have a situation where a guy gets on the roster like this just out of an extreme case of nepotism, you think?
Yeah. No, he would die on the field.
Yeah.
The
just
risks
the nature of the game.
So much worse.
Yeah, you can't put a kid out there. And there's a reason why there's a 3-year rule for kids out of high school to enter into the NFL. It's not because of like the NCAA putting that on there. It's the NFL putting it on the NCAA and those younger kids, because they know developmentally, physically, mentally, they're not ready whatsoever. So like, even if you're grabbing a kid early from college and putting them into the NFL for reasons like Bronny was here, clear reasons, it's actually a high risk for their health overall. Yeah, it's just not apples to apples.
What do you think now here? I mean, because we got the All-Star game with the NBA coming up. We've got the Pro Bowl going on with the NFL stuff and the dunk contest. We have a couple clips here for some Pro Bowl stuff going on, but what are your thoughts on these sort of just like celebratory all-star events that in the direction that they're heading? Like, we used to have legit Pro Bowl game. We used to have, granted, the all-star game in the NBA was, always a little bit more about show and people didn't play defense, but it was still entertaining to watch. They'd score like 200 points. What are your thoughts? And for those just listening, here's a tweet that's getting thrown up. Why doesn't anyone care about the Pro Bowl? And it's a clip of Justin Jefferson putting on Mickey Mouse gloves and doing this stupid catching game. And this is what we have.
Is this a Halloween carnival?
This is the St. Mary of the Valley Halloween carnival, Mike, in the old gym.
That's what they're going to put him in a phone booth with money flying around. He has to catch the money. That's the next event.
What do you think of this, Scott?
Absolutely, it's Mickey Mouse. It's okay to let things die. Like, it's okay.
Scott, but the tradition of all of these Pro Bowl games and dodgeball, the dodgeball was actually kind of fun. That would actually be kind of fun.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but it shouldn't be considered like a high honor to get to these things, because now we have a lot of players, like, for as well as he played, Drake May going to the Pro Bowl after that year. It's like, come on, what are we doing now? We have so many people just bowing out and not accepting, to where we're getting very, very low level players entering into this. And like, that's why I just think it should be an end of the year celebration as opposed to a Pro Bowl and like nominees and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, hey, everybody who didn't make the Super Bowl or the playoffs, come hang out for a week and do it that way, as opposed to making it some sort of like award to get to go and make yourself look like a fool.
We got to like change the name too. It's no longer the Pro Bowl. Remember when it was like in Hawaii every year and people like Sean Taylor would just obliterate punters? It was it used to be a proper country,
Yeah, and there's something to be said too there. Like, obviously they had games and competitions before the actual like for the lead up, right? But those dudes, we saw all the old clips, like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers when he was young. You got Drew Brees, Dan Marino back in the day. They were actually trying to win those like distance throws or the accuracy games and stuff like that. There was competition in this. This feels like Mickey Mouse once again. It's just like, yeah, who cares if I catch this ball with these massive gloves? Like, it doesn't matter. This is just for the show and all that kind of stuff. That's where I think we're missing it.
There's nothing wrong with Mickey Mouse. He's a beloved character for this country.
You're right, Mike. You're right. Scott, how dare you? Mikey loves Mickey Mouse. He has a bunch of Mickey Mouse posters in his room. Mickey Mouse. So don't you dare talk about Mickey Mouse like that. Okay? So the last thing I'll say on this is it's all well and good that these guys come together here and they have fun for this week leading up to Super Bowl week, and players, they know each other and some are friends across the league. I don't want to see the NFL turn into this NBA. We're all buddy. We go on each other's podcasts. There's no competition. We're dapping each other up when we're on opposing teams before the game, giving each other hugs. I don't want to see that leak into the NFL at all. And I worry with these kind of silly little games, that you play like family barbecue games here, that puts on that type of vibe that everyone here in the NFL, we're all just on the same team. And in a sense, sure we are, but also
good vibes only, Nick.
Good. Well, okay, Scott, you want good vibes only.
I want my neon guy.
I want aggressive vibes. I want there to be still some tension between my NFL team. So that's my worry.
Yeah. No, I share that wholeheartedly. It's just, it's becoming a joke, and it's tough to watch, honestly, to see these dudes who, they're competitive at heart. It's just, this isn't what people tune in to see with the NFL brand. This isn't NFL branded whatsoever.
Well, that's the thing, dude.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so off brand, and that's a great way of putting it. It is so Nickelodeon. It is so Disney Channel, Mickey Mouse. So that's the thing that I think that really bothers me, because it just doesn't feel in line with the spirit of the National Football League. Yeah. And that bothers me.
Yeah, it's a deviation from the sport itself. It's too far of a deviation.
Can we just embrace some of our traditions here with the Pro Bowl and just let the boys play?
Take the pads off, tackle football, go back to rugby, leather helmet. Yes.
Okay, Scott, now you're going too far. Mike, we every time we go past an hour, Scott's
his evolution is not it.
And he turns into the rugby guy. Oh, Scott.
Enough with rugby, okay? The field's too wide. So
You're right. There's a lot of things. All right. One of these days, Scott, we're going to talk about rugby in a real way. We're going to cover rugby, but today is not that day. That's it. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.